Hello and welcome to Pros and Convos with me, Steve Yeo. What I'll be doing each week is I will be talking to authors from all over the world. Some you may know, some you may not know. Indie published authors and traditionally published authors, playwrights, poets, and hopefully we'll have something for everybody. And also I'll be talking with the authors and trying to get to the bottom of some of the lessons they learn as writers. So if you're a new writer out there, or if you're just an avid reader and want to hear about a new book that's out, then stay tuned. And welcome to this week's episode of Pros and Convos. Today, very lucky, I am speaking with Clifford Johnson. Hello, Clifford.
Hello, Steve. Lovely to talk to you again.
Nice to talk to you. Before we get into the book, tell us a little bit about your background. Where do you hail from?
Right. Well, I think you might be able to tell by my accent. I was born in southeast London back in 1960, and I lived just outside Greenwich in a place called Woolwich. I was there all my life. I've always lived within a quarter of a mile of the Thames, and we launched here into Herefordshire 10 years ago, and would never want to go back. I've had quite a varied life, really. School life was really tough because I'm dyslexic, and it went and undiagnosed for years. So when I left school, I had lots of different jobs. I've worked on building sites. I've worked at a computer installation. I've worked at a riding school for 2 years. I've really had quite a variety of different jobs. I'm now retired, and I've had a very strange relationship with books and writing. For a long time, I didn't read much. I was very slow to read, and it's only in recent times that, well, basically, the whole book thing came about because my job changed, and I suddenly was going to get sent to mainstream office work, and I was terrified because I can't spell. I have the spelling ability of a child. So, in desperation, I went to adult education, and it was during a conversation there with the teacher that she said, "Did you know you're dyslexic?" I said, "No, I just thought I was a bit thick." She said, "No, no, dyslexic. Don't worry, don't worry. We'll definitely improve the spelling." I mean, and she laughed. "You never write a book or anything." But we'll definitely improve the spelling. Well,
Yeah.
that really hit me. And I know I've got a really good imagination. And I thought, I don't see why I can't write a book if I worked hard enough at it. So it was that sparked it. And I spent a couple of years working on it, and then I finished it. It sat around for 30 years. And then during lockdown, I lost my mum, and I needed something to work on. So I dusted off the book. I spent another 2 years on it. And then I painted my own book cover in oils and released it on Amazon. And frankly, held my breath. And I'm relieved to say that the reviews have been very, very good, which was, it's not that I get big headed about it, it's that every time I get a good review, it's like another brick in the wall, building up the confidence that, was pretty badly smashed down most of my
Yeah.
life. And in fact, because of the reviews, I've started writing a second book because after working with the characters for so long, it sounds funny, but I miss them. I miss my characters.
Yeah.
So I'm writing a new adventure for them.
Oh, that sounds good. I mean, it. I totally agree with you about missing the characters. The first book I wrote, Kettling, it was never ever going to be anything other than the one book. But again, I miss the characters, and one night I thought, well, I could extend this a bit further. And yeah, they do become, in a sense, like literary children for you, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, when I was doing a book signing at a book event, and one of the readers came up, and I was telling her how I miss my characters, and I'm writing a new one, and she said, "Well, they're kind of like your imaginary friends, aren't they?" Well, kinda. I never really thought of it like that, but yes, yeah.
They don't understand, do they? Do you get any time for hobbies? And
Oh yeah, it's I, I love creativity in all shapes and forms, and we've done practically everything. My wife Sally makes jewellery and teaches jewellery making. Um, I've always made things, and I've been on a quest for mm, well, quite a few years now, probably 30 odd years. We are gradually replacing everything in our home with things we've made. So the kitchen table I made, it took 2 years. It was a lot of it's a lot of intricate little pieces of wood. We painted all the pictures on the walls. I've made chairs, tables, all the paintings, lights, lamps, everything, even the rug. I made some giant knitting needles and knitted a huge rug. Um, we've made garden furniture, garden chairs. We do a lot of upcycling. Frankly, I never quite got over the wombles, and I've always made things. And I did upcycling and recycling um, long before it was popular and fashionable. But yeah, we've been doing it for years. But yes, I mean, recently I've just did a pottery course, so we've made some salt and pepper shakers and all kinds of other things.
okay, tell us about your book then. Bolt from the Blue. How did that come about?
Right. Well, as I said, I only really started the project because people laughed and said I couldn't do it. I love films. I've always loved films because of the dyslexia. Uh, visual stories really appeal to me, but I like old movies, um, things like the Alfred Hitchcock and some of the greats. Anyway, the
Yeah,
point was, I've written the book, but I've written it, and I like to think one of the nice reviews I got was somebody said it's like watching a film and reading a book at the same time. And I think it's because I could clearly see everything as I wrote it. I could clearly see all the characters. And it was almost like not being a writer, it was almost like being a director and directing my characters that I thought of as actors. I even tried to do some links in movies. You get things called match cuts, where one scene has something in common with the next scene. I
yeah.
tried to do match cuts in the book where one part links to another part, which is something you don't normally get in literature. I even went as far as doing a walk-on part in my own book, the way Alfred Hitchcock did in his movies. He played a minor character in his films. I play a minor character in my own book. You have to be quick to catch me, but I am in there. Um, the next book, I've already figured out how to do my walk-on part. Two, two, two of the characters are going to be talking, and bizarre, strange things are happening. And one character says to the other, "My God, this is weird. It's like something out of a Clifford Johnson thriller." And the other character says, "Oh, you don't read him, do you?" And the first character says, "Yeah, I think he's good. You never know what's going to happen next, but it's always a surprise." And then something surprising happens. So I was quite pleased with that. Yes, Bolt from the Blue. It's a fast-paced romantic thriller set back in 1992 in southeast London. It opens fast with a terrified woman running through the deserted streets of London, and it's called Bolt from the Blue because she takes refuge up an alley, and in the darkness she's hiding, and there's a massive thunderbolt, and in the moment she's lit up, and somebody sees her out of a window, so he goes down to see if she's okay. And it's the story of how she came to be there and then what they're going to do about it. And during the struggle, they become close.
It's another amazing literary fact.
Well, here is an absolutely amazing fact for you. The smallest book in the world is called Teeny Ted from Turnip Town. The book's now classed as the world's smallest book and it's verified by the Guinness Book of Records. The book is in production and it measures 100 micrometers by 70 micrometers. And believe it or not, it also has its own ISBN number as well.
That was another amazing literary fact.
So your lead character in that, Ron Moon, is that you, or completely made up?
Ron is, well, yeah. A lot of the characters are composites of people I've met. There's a little bit of this person, a little bit of that person. So they're composites. There's a little bit of me in Ronnie Moon, but he is a character of himself. There's also a couple of other characters. There's one called Big Tony, who is. I think we need heroes, and Big Tony is really a hero. Someone that you go to when you've got problems, who seems to know what to do and remains calm. And there's another character called Shades. It's because he used to wear a lot of sunglasses to be cool, so he got the nickname Shades. Shades likes to make quotes from films, and he likes people guess which film it's from. So when he's talking, sometimes he'll make a quote out of a film, and then he gets a kick out of it if people guess which film it's from. So that's a little trait. And there's another guy in the first book called Dave, and Dave's a welder, but he thinks of himself as an artist, and he makes people get underneath the car and examine the work. And I really did know somebody that made me get underneath the car and examine his work, and he was an artist, but he takes as much care with his welding torch as somebody would with a paintbrush. So he's an interesting character. I do like collecting interesting characters.
Well, yeah, why not? Why not? Clifford, I wanted to ask you, with reference to your dyslexia and research. I mean, do you find it harder to research for your books and that because of the problems you face with reading, like internet, etc., etc.?
I'm very lucky. I mean, dyslexia is a strange thing, and there's all, it's a bit of a sloping scale. I mean, I can read all right, but I can't spell. If I look away from a word, I can't remember what letters make the word up. But I'm lucky that in that I can read all right. So looking at research is okay with reading, although I do like to talk to people directly. There's not a huge amount of research with both the books, but the small amount I have done has got me in trouble. I met Anne Cleves, who wrote Vera and Shetland. I met her at a book signing, and we were talking about research. She's very lucky that she's got forensic people that she can talk to. So she runs scenarios past people in the police, and they tell her what's possible and what isn't. I've recently got in trouble. The Coast Guards for the new book is going to be called Grip. Should be out around Christmas, just before or just after. I went to the Coast Guard's office and I said, I've got a question. And they said, oh, is it about the engines? Everyone always asks about the engines. I said, no. I was wondering if I was to launch a boat just outside the 12-mile limit, and would it be possible to drop 3 people off the coast of Devon and then get away again without being spotted? Well, I said, why? I said, oh, I'm writing a book. And they went, oh, yeah. Anyway, when I came out, I said to my wife, they took my picture. And she went, well, I'm not surprised. You look dodgy. So that was a bit tricky. And then in the next book, somebody kills somebody accidentally. Well, there are certain things you don't really feel comfortable having on your search record, like how do I strangle somebody? Where do I push? And how long have I got to hold them for? Well, I'm quite lucky in that I've got a friend called Rob, who's a retired surgeon. So he's my research source, and I was able to email him. And he said, "Oh yes, quite easy to kill somebody." And he gave me all the pros and cons for that, which was really helpful. I've recently I needed to know what it was like to be on a car transporter. And luckily there was one parked and I got to talk to the driver. So I got to climb about on a car transporter, because in the next book, somebody leaps from the top of a builder's skip to a passing car transporter. So I was able to climb about on that. I needed to know some information about a Chevrolet Bel Air, and I had to join the Chevrolet Bel Air Owners Club. And also I needed some information about a flight from Milan to London. And luckily at Shobden Airport, I managed to talk to somebody there who put me in touch with a retired pilot, and he's flown over the Alps. It was really fascinating conversation. There's the first book. There was a problem. I needed to know about guns, and I phoned an arms manufacturer up, who got a little twitchy talking to me. But yes, I tend to do it face to face. There are quite a few. This sounds a bit odd, but I don't think smells are explored properly in books. And sometimes you can be somewhere and you smell something and you go, "Oh, that just takes me back. I remember when." And I thought it might be nice if during several scenes in the new book that we mentioned some smells and scents.
Yeah.
So one of the characters is a mafia, and he's quite sophisticated, and he lives in Milan. And it turns out there's a perfume called Acqua di Parma, which is made in Milan, and it's been made since 18 something or other, and it's horrendously expensive. About £150 for a very small bottle. Well, luckily, I've got a friend who he's happily married. He's one of his big things is he loves scents, and he had some, so I was able to smell it, to try it. The other thing I do, at one point, somebody is being chased, so when it comes to research, one of the things I thought was interesting, I was cutting a tree down in the garden, and as I was sawing it, I was getting really out of breath, I was getting really hot, I was getting really flustered, and I thought, and all these feelings and experiences, I rushed into the shed, grabbed a piece of paper, and I wrote down all the feelings. So I like to collect experiences and feelings, so when I get to a point in a book that I'm trying to write something, I can look at what I've written down. So most of the time when you write a book, it's always either what you imagine or what you remember. But if you can write experiences down as they happen, it makes the scenes a bit more realistic, because it was a real-time experience that you wrote down as it happened.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I mean, a lot of people, I myself, I've writing a book that's called Dad's Island, and it's set on Rathlin Island, which is about 6 miles off the coast of Northern Ireland. But to do the job properly, I've done lots of internet searching, but I'm actually physically going there for a few days to have a walk around the island to get a proper feel for the place, because I want an invading force to be able to sneak onto the island, etc., etc. But you can't really get that information from the internet as such. So I agree that some research requires that face to face being there. Yeah, so I mean, we all do it, but there's a lot of authors that they write about exactly what they know about, and I've never done anything, been anywhere, so I have to create everything. Do you write about what you know, or do you still write about things that you know nothing about and research?
I think uh, I don't want to offend anybody, and I'm not saying that young people can't write some amazing things, because I'm sure they can from a young person's perspective. But I do think that, I mean, I'm 63, and I do think that when you get to 63, you've experienced a lot more things, and you've got a lot more things to draw on. So I've been really frightened, absolutely terrified. I've been so frightened I couldn't move my fingers with paralysis. I mean, it's because I'm claustrophobic, and I was, 30,000 feet over the Atlantic having a panic attack on a plane, but I still was so scared I couldn't see. Well, you can kind of draw on that. I lost my mum. I've been so sad and depressed. It's almost smothering. And I don't know. I've had kidney stones, which is really painful, too painful to shout. It hurts so much, you don't make any noise. You think if something hurt, you'd scream, but you don't. It's just too painful to make any noise. So I do think when you get to a certain age, because you've experienced so many things, and one of the things about dyslexia is that I don't seem to have much of a concept of time. Things that happened 20 years ago, I can recall in great detail, like it was yesterday. And yet, it's a strange thing. I can't tell you with any certainty what month it is, what year it is.
It's competition.
Competition is competition time.
So to win yourself a copy of Clifford Johnson's new book, Bolt from the Blue, all you've got to do is send us an email to prosandconvos@hotmail.com. That's prosandconvos@hotmail.com. And tell me the name of the book that he's actually writing now, and the winners will be announced on the website.
It's competition.
Competition is competition time.
Hi, welcome back. We're still with Clifford. Hi, Clifford.
Hello, Steve.
So where can people buy your books, Clifford? Are they available everywhere?
It's available on Amazon. It's called Bolt from the Blue by me, Clifford Johnson. It's free for Kindle Unlimited to download it, or it's £2.99 for a download. The paperback is £10. At £10, you get free delivery from Amazon, whereas if it was any cheaper, you'd pay £4.50 delivery. So at £10.
I didn't realise that, actually. After all the years I've been selling books on Amazon, I did not realise that you could save money for the reader if you up the price.
Yeah, it was a bit silly. A friend of mine said, "I bought your book," and then he moaned about the price, and I went, "What? No, it's only £8.99." He goes, "Well, it wasn't what I paid," and of course, he paid. I think it was £4 something or other, £4.50 or something delivery. So by raising it to £10, he got free delivery. So I get more money, the reader gets it cheaper, and everybody's happy.
Yeah, I should look into that.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I don't know what about overseas sales, because I do sell some in America. Funnily enough, I've sold more in North and South Carolina than anywhere else.
It's funny. I've sold a few in Germany as well. Now, I can't understand why, because they must be English speaking, because my books haven't been translated yet. So it's weird how it goes.
It could be there's a book club or something, and it's a big book club. Someone said it's good, and it's done the rounds.
You never know. You never know. Thanks for talking with us, Clifford. What I like to do with authors now is because we've talked about your book, we've talked about where we can buy your book, etc. What I like to talk to people about, and your story is absolutely fantastic for this, is I like to give the new writers tips on how we've overcome certain hurdles in our lives and hurdles in our writing process and whatever else, how we overcome things. I mean, and your story with dyslexia is massive. My daughter's dyslexic, to the extent that she is. I'm not sure if it's severe or not, but we found that by putting a coloured plastic sheet over everything she wants to read, it all becomes clear. Have you had to do something like that yourself?
I've heard of that, and for some people, it's almost miraculous.
Yeah.
It works incredibly well. Um, because I don't have a problem reading, I haven't needed it. With me, it's spelling. I. The problem is if I could learn to spell a word and it will stay there for a little while, but unless I use it regularly, it just fades away again. So I've just I've not exactly given up, but I don't care. I'd rather know what I want to say and have trouble saying it than be able to spell and not know what I want to write. And quite frankly, if there's anyone listening to this, including your daughter, if they are dyslexic or they're struggling, I wouldn't swap it now. I wouldn't want to be any other way. It's part of who I am. And there appears to be a correlation between dyslexia and creativity. Nobody really knows why. But I'm not saying that all people that are creative are dyslexic, but a surprising number of them are. And I think it's because with artistic endeavors, you look at things in a slightly different way, and that really helps. It's the same as if you're starting out writing, there's an awful lot of people out there that want to take your money, and you have to be so careful. Basically, if you've put a lot of work into something and it's worthwhile, people give you money. You don't give other people money. It's a simple rule. I've self-published on Amazon. I used KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. It didn't cost me a penny until I asked for the proof copy, which was £4.50. It's called print on demand. I buy a few, then I sell them myself. Authors get a author discount. But if you're writing to make a living, I would be very careful, because I do it as a passionate hobby, but as a money-making venture, I mean, you're really up against it, really up against it.
I mean, I've spoken to a few authors now, and one of the authors, his very first book had massive success, and it was translated into several languages and that. And over a 40-year career, he was saying that he still has only really made about $90,000 to $100,000 in that whole 40 years. So I mean, yes, it's money, but it's certainly not an income. So yeah, you have to be. I think there's only I don't know what the figures are, but I would have thought it was about 10% of all the writers in the world that actually can physically make a living or pay bills with their writing.
Yes.
It's difficult.
I mean, as a passionate project, as a passionate hobby, it's very rewarding if you think you see to hold your book. I mean, I'll be honest with you. When I first held mine, it was such a lot of work, and to prove people wrong and create a book. When it first came through, I burst into tears. It was really emotional, huge. And then, of course, I worried, because you don't know what you've got, because you work so closely with it. It was only when the reviews started coming in and people liked it that I started to feel more relaxed. And but yeah, it's an interesting thing, and but as I said, if anyone dyslexic, don't worry about it, because what you'll find is a dyslexic brain isn't better or worse than a conventional brain. It's just better at some things and not as good at others. So I can do things that other people can't do, and other people can do things I can't do. So, but on balance, I think it's I wouldn't want to be different, and I believe it's really helped. And I think even though the writing was hard, I think some of the descriptive passages came out better because of it.
Yeah. I wanted to talk to you briefly, just purely because of your dyslexia, on your writing process. Do you write in longhand, with a pencil and a pen, onto paper, or do you type directly into the computer? What is your writing process?
A pen and a pad. What I do, I was talking to, I was talking to Anne Cleves. Anne Cleves doesn't plan it. She writes what she feels, and then she gets so far, and she gets halfway through before she knows who did it and why. And that's, it works for her. It couldn't work for me. I plan everything. I plan it into, I know where the story's going, and then I'll break down the whole story into modules. So first we introduce this character, then this happens, then that happens. And these modules, I then write the different modules. So I've got a framework of the story that works. Do it all in longhand. And then I expand some scenes. And what I do, I actually write insert. So because it's not a computer, because it is paper, I write the word insert between two lines. And then I could then write 3 or 4 pages that has to go in there later on. I mean, my poor wife, Sally, is typing it for me. And luckily, she can read my phonetic spelling, which I think she deserves a medal. It's unbelievable. I mean, when I say phonetic, I'd spell it FER/NET/IC. And,
Yeah.
and she manages to decipher it. So there's always a way, but yeah, it is hard.
That seems to be the message a lot of authors are giving me, is that that stick-to-itiveness, that dogged keep it on, don't stop. So would that be the same for yourself?
Absolutely. I think with all creativity, one of the things that sets creative people apart from is this ability to just focus on one thing and just keep on going. And it doesn't doesn't matter. You will get there. I mean, if you think about you look at a building, great big, huge, wonderful building like the Empire State. It's only made one brick at a time, so each word's like a brick, and you just keep. And before you know it, you just keep going. It doesn't matter if you only give it 10 minutes. What you don't want to do is not give it any time at all. But if you just give it a little bit of time, it all adds up. This thing gets bigger and bigger, and it doesn't matter if you don't say it right first time. You put it down, you just get it down, because once it's down, you can improve it. You can cut words out,
Yeah,
cut lines out. But if you write it, if you get it down, you can then start amending it and changing it. And I know there's a lot of literary courses people can go on. The only small problem with that is that if you follow formulas, you might end up producing something which is good, but not different to everything else. So there's nothing wrong with not doing these courses and just writing the way you want and say it the way you want.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, I think a lot of the courses are geared to just bringing out the originality and bringing out the ability in the writers. I don't think, because I've done a few and I haven't yet come across one that has followed a specific formula or anything
right.
else. I think a lot of them just encourage um, different ways of thinking to
Hmm.
isolate your creativity and your originality and things like that. But yeah, it's like learning a craft, if you like. I've written five, 6 books now, and
Wow.
it's only now I feel that I'm ready. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
So I've done my apprenticeship, and
Right.
my better readers, that's the readers that read all my books before I publish, they all say to me, well, I'm getting every book I write is better than the last one in their opinion. And yeah, I feel I'm ready now to write it. And yourself, your confidence has grown by the sounds of it through all the reviews that you got. So your confidence is built up to the extent of where you think, yes, I can write a second book, and you're well into writing your second book. Yes.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I've only had, it's only word of, because it's only me telling the world, and it's a very big world. I haven't sold huge numbers, but I am pleased, and I take every opportunity, and I mean every opportunity. Um, I've had around 80 reviews, and it's running at 4.6, 4.7 out of 5 stars. I did get a 1 star, which I think is a kind of rite of passage, and I think that all authors get a 1 star at one point,
Yeah.
and everybody handles it differently. I've had 1 star. They didn't actually comment to say what the problem was, and I can't be sure, but I am a little suspicious of it because somebody offered. Reviews are very important to me. They're important to me um, in a way that they have to be honest. And I
Yeah.
had somebody say that for a price, they would read my book and give me a good review.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I don't pay for reviews because they're important and they have to be honest. Otherwise, they're worthless. And it wasn't long after that I got a 1 star. And I spoke to somebody else and they said that they had something similar.
Yeah.
And sometimes, but I mean, sometimes people have said that there's aspects of it they didn't like. And obviously, you listen to that. But if on the whole, because you can't please everybody, I mean, some people hate third person.
Yeah.
Um, well, I like third person and I like writing that way. Well, if somebody hates third person and they're not going to read a book because of that, then that's just their choice in literature, and I can't change that. Um, but if most people like it, then you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I agree. And you'll always get your internet trolls that just want to give a 1 point review just because they can. That in every walk of life is the same. But I have had other authors telling me of that same problem with paid reviews, and when you refuse them, they start leaving bad reviews, etc. Trying to encourage you to pay them. But I tell you what, Clifford, it's been absolutely fantastic speaking with you. When is your new book out? You said sometime maybe Christmas?
I've got to finish writing it. And then, of course, I want to paint my own book cover because after all the work in creating it, I want to create my own book cover. Hopefully, it should be out just before or just after Christmas. It's going to be called Grip, but it's not. Each book is standalone, but it is the same characters in a new adventure.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Well, I wish you all the success with that book when it comes out. I will have links at the bottom of this for anybody to buy the book, anybody listening that wants to buy the book. Well, Clifford, thank you very much for spending your time with us.
Pleasure.
I look forward to reading your book. It's on my, I don't know about yourself, but I have a huge pile of books to read. And the more I interview, I think, oh, I need to buy that book and I need to buy that book. And I will get around to it eventually, I promise.
Thank you.
Thank you for spending your time with us, and hopefully our paths will cross again in the future.
Yes. Good luck with your own ventures.
Thank you very much. So please remember to subscribe and like us and share this podcast with anybody you feel that would benefit from it.